Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the final AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat for season 2024. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BalesDT across the socials. Tim will be joining us very shortly as well. Just run a couple minutes late there, but we do have our AFLW Fantasy Fanatic co-host for the upcoming season and the stats man that you'll know is Jaiden Poski. Jade, mate, how are you? And how are you looking forward to the final round of the season?
Hey, Bales. Hey, viewers. Great to be here. And yeah, pretty keen for it. Obviously, it's nice that Collingwood plays tonight and then their season will be done. So yeah, I can kind of enjoy the other games.
Mate, you never know if they catch up like 200 odd points or whatever, all this stuff happens. No, it's not going to happen. But
no, it's actually nice. I don't have to stress about the finals or the chance of them winning. It's pretty relaxing, so that's nice, and I can kind of enjoy the finals because last year it was way too stressful, and they couldn't even win a game by more than 3 points in the final, so it was mega stress. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, well, I've forgotten what it feels like to have my team in the finals because it's been a bit since the Crows have made the finals. So hopefully that will happen next year. But I have to be watching another final series without the Crows in there. So, but just quick before we get into fantasy chat, who do you reckon are the teams in it that you think will finish in the top 8? Who do you reckon is going to make the grand final? Who have you got taking it out?
I reckon Port Adelaide are pretty good. They can probably get into the grand final. Although I really like Dan Houston, so it's a bit unfortunate for their chances, I think, that he's not there anymore for the rest of the year. So, maybe they might struggle a little bit. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Anything can happen. So, yeah, like I said, I'm excited to watch and kind of be neutral. And it's good that there's a lot of interstate teams in there. Because there's a lot of opportunities for those teams when they really haven't had much over the last 15 years or so.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing I'm probably looking forward to the most, right? Is that we haven't had a full non-Victorian grand final since 2006 when the Sydney and West Coast played back-to-back in 05 and 06. So it'd be good to see a couple of non-Victorian teams just for something different because I'm sure that Collingwood will be back up next year and a few of those teams. But if I was probably picking now, I honestly think could be a Sydney grand final. I think could be a Sydney Giants grand final. So that'd be pretty fun, obviously, for New South Wales and the growth there as well. But I think it'd be pretty good. I think Giants, the informed team of the comp at the moment, along with Hawthorn. And then you've got Sydney, who are top of the ladder. So it's going to be interesting. Hawthorn, obviously, if they end up staying in the 8, could be a shout as well, being informed. But it'll be a good final series with all these teams very, very close together. So looking forward to seeing what this final round brings and what the finals bring. So, but in terms of fantasy, final week of the season, 2 trades left. So I think a few people are going for a few different moves. What are your what are your trades looking like for the final round, Jaiden? Because I think a lot of people are going in a few different directions. But what are you doing with your trades?
Yeah, I've got a few options. I'm not entirely set yet. Actually, I did just reverse them because I was planning on trading around the Geelong game and stuff like that. So Jeremy Cameron probably comes in as a 23rd option. But I do have Powell and Simpkin in the forward line, so it's a bit annoying now that game is first, that I can't get a look at Jezza off the bench before that, and all my looping options are just terrible. I've got Barnett, who plays early, and Biggie Newen, he plays early now as well. So, yeah, I've got a bit of thinking to do, and the other one's Kruger, who's playing tonight. So, yeah, I think I need to kind of reconsider what I'm going to do tomorrow now that if anyone did miss it, the North and Hawthorn game has been moved earlier. Starts at 12:30 now down here in Tassie in Launceston. So, yeah.
Going along?
Nah, I'm down in Hobart. So I've been to North a few times, but don't go up for the Hawthorn games.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, it's funny that I think that the fixture shuffling's actually sort of been a hindrance for a lot of coaches. It's actually helped me because I've got 3 Richmond red dots in Caleb Smith, Kane McAuliffe, and Campbell Gray that I brought in as defender forward red dot. And now that they play the final game, they now play after Cherry, which now gives me my VC red dot loop that I've got. So it actually worked for me, but a lot of people had the Hawthorn red dots they brought in, as you said, like your Biggie Newon, stuff like that. And then you can't, a few people looking at VCing a Jeremy Cameron into a Tristan Trevor. Now you can't do that because now Cherry's playing first. So now you've got to probably go VC Cameron into Marshall or not worry about it. So it's getting interesting. But I think I'd almost probably feel better about looping Simpkin first over Cameron. I think Cameron will definitely outscore Simpkin this week. Just depends what Simpkin can put up. So it's probably almost a good thing that he plays first. But I guess having Cameron as the first loop, if you get a massive score, then it's better. Whereas Sim gets a 90, you're going to be going, do I take it or not?
So, just that wider range of outcomes with Cameron. Like everyone's pretty keen to get him in for that 130, but that could go equally as wrong. So yeah, I'm not really sure. He's popular for a reason, so I might get him. But yeah, I've got some other things to play around with. So yeah, have to figure it out before tomorrow when all these afternoon games kind of lock at the same time almost now. And think about it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I'm going Brad Hill. We'll be going up to Jeremy Cameron. It's just, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this, actually. And then when Tim jumps on, I'll be interested to hear his thoughts as well. So I'm doing that trade, but to do that, I need a little bit of money, obviously, because Brad Hill's in the 540s. Jeremy Cameron's like 710. So I'm looking at 3 trades. I'm either going Billy Dowling down to Caleb Daniel. It's not to get Caleb Daniel for any particular reason. It's just as midfield bench cover, but it's making 200k at the same time, right? So a bit of bench cover there. And then obviously go Hill to Cameron. I could then, on the other hand, go Hayden Young down to Christian Salem tonight and loop him at D7. If he was to score poorly, I can use Lawson Humphreys as my D6 for the week against West Coast. Or the trade that I'm probably considering the most is going Adam Treloar down to Jordan Dawson, bringing him back in. I'm sort of thinking maybe does he not get attention from Sydney this week in it's sort of a dead rubber game. So I'm not sure he gets tagged, but I can also get like a Sam Walsh or a Paddy Cripps or something. So what were your thoughts on those options? Where would you probably lean?
Yeah, Caleb Daniels interesting. Played his kind of first proper full game since way earlier in the year. And yeah, 87, pretty solid. So if he could pull that out, you'd be pretty stoked. But yeah, I think the Treloar one is pretty interesting because it seems like the obvious tag. And there's been a few little words from the coaches about that. Nothing obviously locked in, but it seems like the obvious one. So yeah, and with my thoughts around that, how much does the tag affect Treloar? Because he's like a really good scorer. And we've seen it with Bont a little bit in the past as well. He can still put up maybe a 90 if he's getting fully tagged, and Treloar could do that. It can be a little bit of like you're trading out Treloar and he still ends up getting a 90. You'd probably be a little bit disappointed with that, but it's more what you can, I guess, afford on the other side. And if you're confident that Dawson will, I guess, beat Treloar, or best case scenario for Treloar, he could still get a massive score, but you could say if he still gets a 90 and Dawson could get that as well. But then on the other side, you freed up a bunch of cash. So I do like that option because it seems like Bedford will go to Treloar.
Yeah, because like I'm looking at the team here, like I've got to make the cash somewhere, and the obvious choice was going McAuliffe down to a red dot rookie and just going Brad Hill up there. But I fall short by like 2K or something. It's like really, really annoying because I would have just done that. And I think I can even go McAuliffe down and then go Humphreys up to Jeremy Cameron, but then that gets rid of the D6 loop with Hayden Young and Humphreys if I was going to keep that. So it's like, well, I probably want to keep Humphreys for that loop. So sort of where would be the way of working around that? So obviously that would be where Dowling down is essentially doing the red dot down. So essentially you keep Treloar and go Jeremy Cameron, or you go Dawson and Jeremy Cameron. So it's interesting. I'm sort of a bit sort of torn with it because I think, Dawson could go big. He's been in good form, but then I could also see him getting a tag and sort of going not so great, and then Treloar getting off the chain. So then again, it's luxury trade season, right? That's what happens at this time of the year. So very, very interesting there. We do have a super chat here from Jared V. So thank you very much for this, mate. He said, trading Simpkin to Jeremy Cameron and we'll have him F7 to loop, have Hogan at F6. Should I hold him or trade to any other forward other than the big five? Was thinking Daniels, but don't like it being at Mars Stadium. Cheers. So what are your thoughts on potentially a Hogan out to a Brent Daniels? Is that something that you'd tick off?
I think having Cameron at F7 is unlocking quite a few things there, because you've already got coverage. Like, because I'm assuming if Cameron goes well, then you're going to be benching Hogan anyway.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to be wasting, or you wouldn't want to be using a trade on Hogan if you have the chance to bench him. So I think the fact that you're trading in Jeremy Cameron and you're pretty confident around that, that maybe determines that you don't need to use another trade in the forward line because you've got that looping option.
You're in defense or something, might get a defender in.
Yeah, so it does depend on your other trading options, but I think, yeah, if you're using a trade on your loop spot, you're probably pretty confident that Cameron can go well, and then you're just going to bench Hogan anyway. So then you've got another trade to use wherever you like.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. If Cameron goes well anyway, yeah, I wouldn't be bringing in Brent Daniels. Just go Hogan, yeah, if you can get into a midfielder or even a defender or something like that. So it'd be perfect, because I would have looked at someone like maybe Jack Viney or something tonight in a good matchup. But you're locking that in, and then and you can't look at then Jeremy Cameron. Then you're sort of banking on him. So it'd have to be someone after that Geelong game. So if there's a few options there, maybe you might be able to look at there. But no, don't mind it, Jared. But yeah, maybe if you go Hogan out and Cameron goes well. But I guess if Cameron goes poorly, then yeah, definitely can go look at getting Brent Daniels. So, but yeah, cool. We'll get into some. Actually, no, we do have a second super chat here. So thanks from Matea Hayden. So appreciate the super chat, mate. He says Treloar to Neil or Merritt to Anderson. Cheers. So where are you leaning there?
Yeah, as I said with Treloar, you do want to go for that. I guess it makes a lot of sense. And I'm guessing the cash downgrade in both of these options would unlock something as well. I do really like Noah Anderson this week against Richmond. So I do like that as an option. So you could just go Treloar down to Anderson
That's
as well.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah, I was just thinking just do Treloar to Anderson.
Yeah. And that could free up more cash for the other trade, which could be good. But yeah, I think Merritt will be fine. Obviously had a rough game getting tagged by Jordan. So yeah, I don't really, you've already copped the bad score. So you could just go for a good score this week. So yeah, I think trading Treloar though is a good idea based on the information we have right now.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting for me for Brisbane is that they have named Jared Berry, which is quite surprising, because I thought with a bit of a hamstring, I know it was a bit precautionary, but I thought, well, Brisbane, you'd expect him to win up at the Gabba. I didn't think they'd risk him, but they have played him. So, but then again, I'm not sure he'll do any tagging job with any sort of potential slight sort of niggle or anything like that. So I think that Merritt could go run free and go quite well. So, but here he is, our fellow co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic is Tim Guest. Guesty, mate, how are you?
Sorry, I'm late, boys. I was in a meeting with the venue coordinators for the event that's on next week, the Infinite Wealth event. I don't know if people have booked in or got the email for the one-day intensive next Saturday. If they haven't, reach out and let me know, and I'll make sure you get an invite to the day.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
get around it. Yeah, good. Just looking forward to the final week of the season, mate. I'm sure that you're pretty keen for the season to finish it.
Mate, I'm checked out. I'm in Bali already, basically. I think I'm Jeremy McGovern and Tom Barras. Yeah. I've just packed the bags and put the season away, put the boots away for another season, and we'll no doubt see the pre-season start on December 24th or something like that in a few months' time.
Something like that. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. No pre-season for me and Jaden especially, and then a few of us doing AFLW fantasy, but I know Tim will be relaxing, having a few months off, drinking some martinis on the beach.
It's been a big year. It's been a big year.
Yeah, driving the Bentley down to the beach and relaxing. So, but
just for accuracy's sake, I don't have a Bentley. All right, just to be clear, I was going on someone else's joke, but yeah.
Beautiful. Well, what are you looking forward to the final week, Tim? Is there anything I know you said you checked out, but is there anything you're sort of looking out for in the final week? Maybe if there's any sort of preparation for next year, maybe any sort of things you want to go right in the final week of the season? Let us know what you're doing in the final week.
Look, I like that the Jeremy Cameron option has opened up. It makes the last week of the year quite interesting. I mean, we saw what he did. It would have been a few years ago.
2018, I think it was. Yeah.
2018, 2019, something like that, with a sort of 154 or something like that in the final round. And
Tex last year and Larky as well.
Yeah. And that won someone a car as well, if I remember correctly, right? So,
yes, yep.
There's a lot that can happen and a lot that can change. And, there's, we with the Content Creators Cup, we have our finals a week earlier just because I like to only do the, one-for-one matchup thing. But there'll be a lot of people playing for finals. There'll be a lot of people playing for their final rank, playing for hats, playing for cars. So that's going to throw some curveballs at us, and it's going to make this last, certainly probably Sunday afternoon quite interesting.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Shout out to Tom, who I know he'll be shitting bricks on Sunday, I reckon. But but he's got a stressful weekend coming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we will be chatting to Tom on Sunday, regardless if he wins it or not. But obviously, hopefully, we are rooting for him, and hopefully
he'll be drunk
gets it done.
Either way, either drunk and down in the dumps or drunk and happy.
Yeah, no, we'll get him on for a time bit. We've also got the Content Creators Cup champion from the year, Luke, would be jumping on as well. So it'll be good to chat to those guys as well. And might even be able to see if we can get Mitch on as well, who won the overall, who's probably, I can't imagine he's not going to win the overall side of things. I think Roy would have to catch up like 250 points or something like that to catch up. So I don't see that happening. So the Ball Boys, Tim, we got to lift their game next year. They were saying on the pod before that Mitch took out overall and the Content Creators Cup last year, and this year he took out overall, and Luke got the Content Creators Cup this year. So, mate, we got to lift our fingers next year. We've fallen short.
Actually, I think the other podcasts have really got to lift their games. I mean, we're a fairly new podcast on the block, and it's been so are the Ball Boys. We're at the top, so just stirring, of course. But yeah, no, I love the Content Creators Cup. It's
It's your baby, Tim.
Obviously, I know. Well, it is a little bit. I'm biased, obviously, but I don't know. I've really enjoyed it as as an experience more than just an idea. Like having all the content creators, having a bit of something to talk about, a bit of fun, and then I've also been just really wrapped with all the support that we've been getting from all the podcasts out there. Like Ball Boys shouted out every week, Hat Chat shouted out, all the guys have. So just very, very grateful for all the support, and looking forward to running it again next year.
Yep.
Maybe we'll mix a few things up. We might mix a few things up with a few content creators. See what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see if all the pod boys. Hopefully, we'll all fingers crossed they're
Hopefully
back next year. But
hopefully
exactly
the boys
right.
are back.
So, but there we have to be made room for Jordox and maybe even Jaiden, mate, being the part of the AFLW fantasy team this year. So
banging down the door for sure.
Yeah, exactly right. We got super chat here from Power Prawn Star. So thank you very much, mate. So thanks for the super chats there. If anyone wants to send one through, you can feel free. But Power Prawn Star says, "G'day. My opponent in the grand final has Rosie and Jeremy Cameron. Which do I need to match? If I match Cameron, it means Young to Roberts or Farrell with Houston out." So, Jaiden, what are your thoughts with that? I'm probably leaning towards. I think you got to match Cameron because he's the guy that could go 150. I know Rosie could, but and what are your thoughts on? I don't mind one of the Roberts or Farrell move. What are your thoughts on one of those guys?
Yeah, I was just looking up now. The interesting thing about Jeremy Cameron is he's kind of one of those players that you're trading in to go for a spike score to like as a bit of a point of difference. But he's like comfortably the most traded in player this week. So if you are looking for someone different, he's not actually that option anymore because everyone is getting him in. So just in general, not specific to this question, it's one of those ones where if you are looking to make up points, you nearly have to actually make a different decision and go against Jeremy Cameron and hope that West Coast midfield wins and they don't get the ball down there. I do really like Farrell this week with no Houston, and the matchup against Freo is a lot better than the Roberts matchup against Adelaide. So I do have Farrell projected higher this week. And yeah, no Houston. So gets a bit for that as well. So I don't mind that. And yeah, Rosie is interesting against Freo in that final game. Again, I still think I would probably go Cameron, match him. But
And
yeah,
grab Farrell.
Yeah, I do like that the most.
Well, Power Prawn say you're Port man, so backing in Farrell in a big game for Port. Obviously, trying to keep that home double chance and two home finals. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I think Cameron's probably the one you want to be not taking on, just because if your opponent's got him, he could go absolutely massive. So, but yeah, so we will get into captains in just 1 second. But Tim, I'll ask you the question I asked Jaiden before. So, my plans this week, I'm going Hill up to Jeremy Cameron. So I need a little bit of cash from that. So which of these three moves for the second trade would you do? So I've got Treloar to Dawson or Walsh, one of the two, but Dawson would be the one I'd probably look at. Dowling to Caleb Daniel as M9. It's not Daniel to Planfield. It's just as a bench cover, but gives me the cash to do the move. Or Hayden Young down to Christian Salem and loop him and Lawson Humphreys. Where would you go out of those three moves?
Hayden Young down to Christian Salem.
And loop between him and Lawson Humphreys, which I'm not as keen on that last option. It's probably one of the first two, but your thoughts?
Look, I actually don't mind the idea of getting off Treloar with the possible tag. But, and then who was it? Just Dowling down to a nobody just to get cash, right? Basically, you just cash to make the change you want.
Yeah.
Okay, well, should we discuss the Treloar tag, the Western Bulldogs tag? I mean, where do you guys think it's going?
Well, I think Jaiden was saying before he reckons it's probably Bedford. Did you say that you heard something from maybe a coach or something that maybe hinted at that, Jaiden?
Yeah, there was a few little, I guess, words going around from press conferences. I didn't really read into it, but yeah, it seems like Treloar was the obvious option, and I do think it is, especially probably because he's been tagged before from other clubs, and also Bontempelli's more of a like Bedford has done some good jobs on the bigger contested mids, but
Ward will probably go to him if anything.
Yeah, I think they could just play Green head to head like with Bont.
I think they did that. Didn't they do that last year at Monica? Didn't they do? Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure they did Bont and Green head to head, and both went absolutely up.
Like Ward's done that in the past, but he's moved out to the wing now, so I can't see that happening. So I just think the Treloar one, there will probably be more media about it over the next day because it is a Sunday game, but I think it's just way too likely. And last week Treloar was on like 0 at quarter time almost, so you wouldn't want something like that to happen again. Disaster.
Yeah. So that's my thinking, and that's my thinking now. I don't know if, as I said, I don't know if Sydney really tag Dawson. If anything, I don't know if they're going to tag in a dead rubber game. There's nothing really to get out of the game. Maybe they just stick Jordan on Dawson still. Funny enough, Jordan on Dawson. But yeah, so interesting. But Tim, that's probably where we're landing with that, I reckon.
I think that's probably the way to go. Cool. I mean, I think you'd kick yourself, right, if you just did the Dowling down and then Treloar got banged up and you had that poor score sitting on your field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I think that the other thing I can do is if I get Walsh instead, I can trade Dowling instead of Humphreys to get Cameron, which means I can loop Humphreys. And if Humphreys went 80, 90 plus, I can actually trade Hayden Young to Cameron and then get like Jack Steele or something like, or Zach Butters. So I'd actually be able to get a better upgrade. So that might be the path I go down. But it'll be very, very interesting to see what we do. But we'll get into captains. So I'll quickly go through my top 10. Then we'll get up Jaiden's top 10 with his projections as well. So my top 5, there's been a little bit of an update from the video from yesterday. I have put Tristan Cherry ahead of Rowan Marshall at number 1. It's perhaps going to be a little bit wet. Extra tackles. Meek's been sick for most of the week, apparently. I just think Cherry could be massive in this game. So I've moved him just ahead of Rowan Marshall, who I think will still be very good, and that's still who I'm going VC into captain. But he's just moved down the one spot. I've got Noah Anderson, number 3. Flanders, number 4. Both got the Richmond matchup. I think that both will go quite well. I've got Nick Newman rounding out my top 5 against the Saints. I think that's a really good matchup as well. Then if you want to go for a bit of a pod, that's an option. I've got Errol Goulden at number 6 against the Crows at the SCG. I think Goulden will go quite well. Whether he's a laid out or not, that's obviously the one thing just to keep an eye on if Sydney decide that they're going to rest him late, but I would imagine if they were going to, they would have already named him out. So he's at number 6. I've got Jeremy Cameron at number 7. I think he could be quite big. So if you want to go for a risky VC, he could be the one there. I've got Lockie Whitfield at number 8. The Mars Stadium just scares me a little bit. That's why he's a little bit down, but I still think it's a decent enough matchup. He can go well. Then I've got Nick Dacos at number 9 tonight against Melbourne. I think he'll go quite well in that game there. And I've got Tom Stewart at number 10 against West Coast. I think go well. Dane Zorko, the other one, I don't mind. It's just outside along with Jack Steele. So they're my top 10. Jaden, what are your projections looking like? Who are the top 10 projections this week?
Yeah, so I agree with Cherry at number 1, and because the venue is quite good for him. And also, I'm pretty sure it's thunderstorming tomorrow.
Later, yeah.
Tassie. So
that's why they moved forward.
It could be ugly. And then I do have a lot of Gold Coast in the top 10, and because I'm a projections model, I'm trying to reduce the error. So it's pretty much saying that one of them will go big. So up next, I've got Flanders. The issue is he's been playing forward a bit lately, so I don't love it, but he's there. Tim English is next. Noah Anderson, Rowan Marshall, and then Kieran Briggs is at number 6.
Really?
The reason why English and Briggs are so high is, that game at Ballarat, rucks have gone big there before, purely because, it's such a high stoppage ground. And that's
I think Riley O'Brien's gone big there a couple of times.
So that's not just because of the Bulldogs being a high stoppage team. That's like, if you adjust for the Bulldogs, it's still a very high stoppage ground. So I liked both of those. Briggs was actually number 3 before English got named. So he's down there. Touk Miller, Tom Green, Matt Rao, and Josh Dunkley. So, a lot of Gold Coast, basically just putting them up there because one of them will go big and is trying to reduce the error. So Richmond give up a lot of points. So, that's where it's sitting for me.
Yep, beautiful. No, I like it. So your plans this week, your captain, vice captain, what are you doing?
I'll go Cherry into Flanders. I don't love Flanders, but I've followed it all year, so it's going on.
Might as well do it for one more week, right? So So, Tim, what are you looking at doing with your captain, vice captain? You're doing something a bit unique, obviously, with the final week and being checked out a bit.
I was even checked out of that conversation space. I replied to the email. So Cherry, I think I'm going down as well. But is Marshall the other one, the big VC that was VC options this week?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I typically go with Jaiden and his projections. So
he's going Cherry to Flanders. Cherry to Flanders or Cherry to Anderson if you've got Anderson.
Oh, I'll be going Cherry to Flanders then, I think.
Yep. Beautiful. Let's get to some questions for the listeners. If you are tuning in live and like your question answered, then put it in the live chat and we'll get to as many as we can. We'll go for about another maybe 20 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap up and give people a little bit of time before the final round of the season starts to get all the trades in order. There'll be no watch long from me tonight either, being over my sister's place. Can't get everything set up by the time I get home. So none tonight, but there'll be a watch long tomorrow night for one of the games potentially. With the Crows playing, I'm not sure, but keep tuned in to see if we do anything for that tomorrow. Beautiful. So Chaz got the first question. He said, "Hey lads, Ed Richards or Hayden Young to Nick Newman?" So who would you be trading out of there, Jay? Now those two. What does your projections say with Richards and Young this week?
Yeah, it's Richards because he's kind of not had that same role. He has, but it's not as strong anymore. So. Yeah, Richards goes. Young's fairly consistent playing midfield, so back him in. And Richards, even though I think he was on 50 or 44 at a quarter time last week, but he still didn't get 100. So the role just isn't there enough. And that's coming from
I
someone who
agree.
traded him out last week. So
Yeah, you would have been a bit nervous after that 50-point
Yeah,
quarter, but then
definitely.
I guess it slowed down a bit. But yeah, I agree. I still think Young actually went pretty well against Port Adelaide in the preseason when they played, so could go all right again. So yeah, I'd be trading at Ed Richards. We've got a super chat here as well from Jared V again. So he said, who scores more, Merritt or Dunkley? Fielding one and looping the other. So Tim, who do you reckon scores more this week? Merritt against the Lions or Dunkley against the Bombers?
I think, you'd think Dunkley against the Bombers is a better matchup than the Lions, but look, I'm not. I know there's a lot of coaches that have been talking smack about Merritt, but he's had a pretty good season so far. It's just that one bad week last week being tagged, so I'm not too concerned about Merritt. But
every mid's dropped a really bad score this year, right? Every single mid, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I'd be looping Merritt and playing Dunkley. I think Dunkley bounces back in the final week of the season as well. So I don't think Brisbane are trying to get into top 4, but it's not like Essendon are playing for too much on the other end. So I think that Dunkley could go quite well. Detached edits, play Walsh and loop Cameron and Philippou, or trade Walsh to Anderson and play Cameron. So Jaiden, I think it's the first option, isn't it? It's play Walsh and loop Cameron and Philippou, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I know Anderson's good, but I don't think Walsh is going to be too bad this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Anderson, but I do think that I'm not really sure what the go with Philippou is this week, but I do like looping in the forward line because while everyone's getting Cameron, it's no guarantee that he goes well, just because like anything could happen with that. Everyone wants a 160, but it's not really that likely, and he could just be completely normal. So I like the option of having 2 goes in the forward line. I think it's worked for coaches who have gone there this year with another forward and played around with it.
Yeah, great. But what is your prediction? So Walsh this week? So I think Walsh should go. I think he'd go right this week.
96 for him. The issue is actually the automation of the positions. He's been downgraded to just a rotation midfielder because he hasn't been doing very much lately. So he's been downgraded. That would be 91, but if you move him up to proper mid, then that's 96. So not the best matchup against St Kilda, but I still like the looping in the forward line.
Yeah, I agree. McTurtle says going Jordan Clark to McDonald or Cameron, and Curnow to Kennedy, Powell, or Myers. So Tim, if you had to chip, it's Jeremy Cameron over Conor McDonald? I know Conor McDonald's a good option, but is it Jeremy Cameron for the upside?
Who's the other option? Sorry, I heard Conor McDonald. And I thought it was over that, but
Jeremy Cameron, one of those two. It's Jeremy Cameron over McDonald.
Over those two. Sorry, I thought you said there was a third option.
No, yes, that was the first trade. So you're going Clark to one of those two. Clark to Cameron, I think, is the play. But then it's going Curnow to Kennedy, Powell, or Myers. So Kennedy obviously up against the Saints, Powell against the Hawthorn, potentially in the wet down at UTAS, and then Myers up against West Coast.
Yeah, I like Myers up against West Coast.
Yeah,
although he doesn't really play that well at GMHBA, doesn't he?
No, he scores at GMHBA. The last 5 or 6 games have been very, very ordinary, and that's putting it lightly. So his last few scores at GMHBA, so he scored a 53 against the Crows, a 52 against the Bulldogs. Mind you, that was quite a wet game, that one there. 67 against Hawthorn, and 52 against Richmond, 65 against the Giants, and then he got a 9 against Point in round 9. So it's every other game since round 9 he's played GMHBA has not been good. But I do think a few of those, besides Richmond, like Giants is a hard game. Hawthorn have shown they're a tough team to score against. Bulldogs was in the wet. The Crows one was probably the one that you probably expect him to go a bit better at. But yeah, I think Myers goes better this week than what he has done.
You're putting all your chips on the Eagles to be absolutely crap, which they probably will be.
Yeah, I think with Barras and McGovern out, I think it's going to be a tough task for
exactly.
The Eagles.
What do we got? I think our tallest defender is 187 centimetres or something like that.
They'll probably be
or something like that. Is our tallest?
Is Harry Edwards in the team?
Sorry, it'll be Harry. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like Rhett Bazzo will be the next guy at 195, but obviously been quite inexperienced. So, yeah, I think that be a tough day at the office for West Coast, unfortunately. Figsy Mano, he says, is Sicily to Newman and Clark to Sinclair a good trades, Jaden? And then Anderson VC into Marshall. So firstly, what are your thoughts on the trades, and then the Anderson VC into Marshall?
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, Newman will go all right this week. And
are you worried about Sicily in the potential sort of wet conditions and against North Melbourne?
Yeah, against North, not the best matchup. But yeah, Sinclair's interesting because Carlton don't really give up much around the ground. They give up a bit of stoppage, and he's going to be playing down in defence. But yeah, with Carlton's forward line, I think it's even worse this week with Zach Williams not playing. So yeah, Sinclair could go all right in that. So yeah, I like those trades, and Anderson VC, get on.
Yeah, no, I like it. I was always contemplating Anderson VC into Cherry, but then obviously with the fixture move around, cannot make that happen. Owen Campbell says, is Heaney to Jeremy Cameron a good trade since the game means nothing, so Heaney could play more forward, Jaden? So what are your thoughts on that? Could you go Heaney to Cameron this week?
Probably depends on, I'm guessing your opponent would have it in your head-to-head matchup, grand final. So yeah, that could be a good point of difference. Adelaide are
money as well.
Yeah, Adelaide are a fairly all right matchup though for the midfielders because they play high stoppage game. So yeah, it's not ideal, but if you are looking for a differential, then I guess it would make sense. I'm just looking. Yeah, like he's part of that big four group in the forward line. So yeah, you could do it if you need it.
Yeah, I'd probably almost keep Heaney for the week because this will be the last week we'll be able to enjoy him as a forward, right? Because next year will be straight mid. So maybe keep him and do another trade. But unless you need the cash, then I guess I could tick it off. Tim says, who scores more, Ed Richards and Tom Stewart, or Rory Laird and Nasai Wanganeen Miller? And I would obviously flag that Laird now playing in defence as well. But he did score quite well against Sydney in defence last time.
All right. Well, I have no fucking idea. Let's work it through. So what were the first two options? Tommy Stewart.
So Tom Stewart and Ed Richards. That's the first combo. And then the second one is
so what do you reckon we're going to get out of Tom Stewart? What do you reckon
Tom
we're going to get out of Tom Stewart this week? Against the Eagles.
Well, what is your projection say, Jade?
95.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's just do this, right? 95 from Stewart, and then what was the other one? Richards?
80.
Yep, so 175.
180. Yeah.
And then Rory Laird and Nasai. What does the projection say for those two?
Laird 84 and Wanganeen 93. So they're both. Oh, is that spot on it? I think 175.
Yeah, very, very close. So it's pretty much flip of the coin.
I don't really want anything to do with Rory Laird in my team as a defender.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think next year as a defender, when at full pre-season as a defender, will be a bit better. But I think being sort of with a few young crows back there and stuff, yeah, I think Richards and Stewart's probably the ceiling play because Stewart could go quite big. So, but then part of me says Nasai and Laird. If someone asked me 5 weeks ago, I would have said definitely Nasai and Laird because I thought, but Nasai doesn't even really have a ceiling. Really hasn't done too much in terms of the hundreds this year. So yeah, I think I'd agree. We'll go the first combo. Marco, LDU to Anderson or Simpkin to Jeremy Cameron? Tim, where are you going there? So who would you rather, LDU and Jeremy Cameron or Anderson and Simpkin?
Oh, you think you want to get a hold of Anderson, right? So on the other side is Simpkin. Who's North playing this week?
Hawthorn.
Hawthorn. Oh, God, not a very nice matchup. Simpkin. And then what was the other option, sorry?
So yes, then you've got so it's LDU to Anderson or Simpkin to Jeremy Cameron.
Hang on, didn't you say there was two options? So say
Oh
again,
yeah, no,
Tommy?
yeah. Sorry, yeah. I was saying the combo that you've got is if you go LDU to Anderson, you've got Anderson and Simpkin, or if you go Simpkin to Jeremy Cameron, you've got LDU and Cameron.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to do those
I
two
don't know.
trades if you can. I'd prefer to do those two, and whatever other trade you're doing, I wouldn't worry about doing. But
Yeah, let's do that. Oh man, that's such a I find it such
a tough one. I know,
call,
it's
right? Because Jeremy Cameron, look, he could be big, but he could also do nothing.
yeah.
I mean, it's it's high risk, high return, but I mean that's why I'm kind of leaning the other way. Like, I'm actually leaning towards the Anderson Simpkin.
Yeah. No, you're probably right on that one. Get Anderson. He's probably very likely to go big, and Jeremy Cameron's probably going to go big as well. But as you said, it's probably more safety with Anderson going big and Simpkin, I guess. So, could be. It's a tough call though. Spruce Moose.
Yes.
I like that name, Spruce Moose. Good one. I'd go Simpkin to Cameron, but only if you can Luke Cameron. Actually, that's a good point as well. If you can Luke Cameron, it might sway things there. Ben Hayes fading.
That's a very smart idea.
Ben Hayes fading Thomas and going Goldrick instead, lads. Oh, that's an AFLW fantasy question we got there. So, so Jaiden, thoughts on going Sinead Goldrick over Charlie Thomas?
Yeah, it's tempting. Thomas is going to be very difficult to fade with that early double game. So, I think I'd rather have both at the moment. So, yeah, instead of the direct swap.
Yeah. If anything's, if my team's anything to go by, I've currently got Thomas out for Goldrick because it helps with a few other moves around the ground. But we'll answer a heap more questions of AFLW Fantasy on Tuesday as well. So we got a show. And if people didn't hear on the ball, boys, we do have Mitch jumping on with us. I was waiting for the confirmation and we got it on the pod. Mitch will be joining us for the upcoming season on the AFLW Fantasy Fanatics. But I won't be able to join every show, but we'll be on mostly throughout. So, make sure you get keen for that. Should be good fun. Nerman Birdar says, should we trade Treloar to Steele? So, Jaiden, what are your thoughts on Steele this week? And would you go Treloar to Steele?
Steele's been going really well. And that's back to his spread around the ground, getting back. So I flagged that in the preseason and he's taken off now. He wasn't really doing it at the start of the year, but he's just racking it up around the ground and not really doing much at stoppage. Carlton's not the best matchup for that because they do give up points to stoppage. So maybe he reverts that. I do like him as an option.
Yeah. So we also just got a notification as well from AFL subs, as well as Bailey Laurie and Finn McRae are the substitutes for tonight. So, so that doesn't affect too much there. But I just want to have a look. So they got 8. So they got nearly 1,000 followers. So if everyone wanted to do Eloise and Jordan a big favour for all their help they've given the fantasy community, make sure you go and give them a follow. And because it might be the final week that we need subs. So give them a follow, get into 1,000 followers and hit that milestone because they've done some good work. The back half of the year. So shout out to Eloise and Jordox there. So we got David says, hey guys, can you please rank these following midfielders? This would be probably good for your projections, Jade. So he's saying, please rank Steele, Butters, Anderson, and Lockie Neal.
All right. So Anderson, the highest. I've got him 116. Was Neal in there?
Neil, Steele, and Butters.
Neal 105, Butters 104. Butters. Oh no, I just said Butters 104.
Jack Steele.
Steele at 100, and then who was the last one?
Oh no, that was the 4. That was it. You said.
Oh, okay.
So the Anderson's obviously the one you go for. Lockie Neal there. Do you expect any attention to go Lockie Neal from Caldwell this week, or do you think with the game sort of not meaning too much to the Bombers, they won't worry about it? Neal potentially going for 3 votes as well.
Yeah, I think they'll still you'd be silly not to put someone on him. Not necessarily a hard tag, but kind of what Caldwell's been doing. That's his role to play defensive. So yeah, I don't mind Neal as an option, and Yeah, I think was there a player that used to tag Essendon and he got clean last time?
Durham?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
Yep.
I'm thinking of the wrong team, but
Tim, I think you got a lot of static coming through, mate.
Oh, sorry, mate. I think I'm rubbing the microphone. I was putting on a jacket, all right? Don't get any other pictures in your head.
So I
think the
wondering what the hell's
fabric
going on
was
there.
rubbing on the microphone as I was putting on the jumper. I think that's what it was.
Oh, that's all good. We actually had a question from Mr. Jet saying, coming down the Campfield tonight, Tim.
No, the Campfield's really died off since since Cara, basically. Yeah, I mean, it was, it really was her baby. I mean, I went down a couple of times, but there really was, hardly anyone down there, so I kind of stopped going. But yeah, look, maybe we've got to get it sorted and going for next year again or something like that, because I really, really enjoyed the Friday nights. I mean, maybe the Campfield's not the venue, maybe there's another venue, but yeah, we really should get it going again. It was quite an enjoyable thing to do.
Yeah. I'll be back in Perth, I'm sure, at the start of the next season, so I'll be definitely there. It's always good fun. Those nights there. David also had this question as well at the back part of that question, Jane. He said also, who makes way, Clark or Bont? I'm assuming that's Jordan Clark. It's probably Jordan Clark, isn't it?
Yeah, get off that in the Port matchup.
Yeah. I love Warnie DT, says Tim. He said Josh Dacos an option after a 130 against Melbourne in the last game. Thoughts on Josh Dacos is a bit of a unique. Playing at half back as well now.
Oh, is he really? I was about to say, wingers, you don't really want them. But if he's been playing off half back, I mean, that's not a bad role. But I mean, I haven't been paying any attention to him. Have you, Butts?
He's looked good. It's a tricky one. It's not something. If you could loop him, that would be great. If he's your M9. But I think he's quite expensive, actually. I think he's actually gone up a fair bit in price because he's had some good games. So he's 771. So his last month, he's gone 111, 65, 98, 97. The 65 was against Carlton. I probably wouldn't worry about it personally. I think if you're going somewhere around that price, I think Tuke Miller's probably one against Richmond that I'd almost look at. I think your projections say he'll go quite well as well this week, Jaden.
Yeah, Tuke, pretty good. I don't mind Dacos. Melbourne are a great matchup for that. They give up the second most points on turnover, but Richmond are the number one for that. So, that's why I'd probably rather Tuke.
Yep. Lucas B has asked a question on Twitch, so thanks, mate. He says, Clark to Steele or Neil? My opponent has Neil, and I'm kind of worried of him going big as he needs the 3 votes to the Brownlow. So I think we said before, we'd be going Neil, but Lucas, that's probably one where you look at your matchup and go, are you favoured to win? If you are, you probably match Neil. If you think you're going to lose, then maybe taking it on and going for a different player, maybe go for someone with some upside as well. So that's probably where I'd look at that, Lucas. But Neil is probably the pick based on the matchup there. But I do like Steele as well. Just a human, who to trade in, Dylan Moore or Jeremy Cameron, Tim? Who are you going out of the two, Dylan Moore or Jeremy Cameron?
I think I like Cameron's matchup better than Dylan Moore.
Yeah,
but
I think I agree as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing pretty well. I mean, he's kind of sitting pretty solid in there at that kind of F4, F5 position, right?
Yeah, and well, if the game's meant to be wet as well for Dylan Moore, that means that his ceiling's probably not going to be there. So, I think Cameron's the guy that I'd be going. What do your projections actually say with Dylan Moore this week, Jaden?
81. The issue with the forwards is it's not very good at assessing the quality of the forward. So obviously Dylan Moore has been pretty much unders every week because he's the best of the best. And he's not playing midfield, so he's never going to be grouped with those guys. But yeah. And then Jeremy Cameron, it's such a wide range, really. Yeah.
What do you think about it out of those two? Regardless of the projection, Shaden, which way would you go?
Probably, Dylan Moore's done all right in a few games this year purely because there's been a lot of stoppages and he kind of gets up the ground a bit, especially in games that have a lot of ball ups. He benefits because, that high half forward role does benefit from ball ups. But See, everyone's going Jeremy Cameron this week, so
Mm.
it's almost to the point where you need to just do something different because
yeah.
I don't know. It depends on your priorities, but yeah, like it's not like Harry Edwards isn't playing; he's there. So
Yeah,
Bales, what do you reckon?
yeah, exactly. I think
Jeremy
you go
Cameron or
Cameron
Dylan Moore? Yeah.
I think Cameron for the upside, and then also with the bit being a bit wet for Dylan Moore, maybe just gets a 90 and doesn't go too big. So yeah, I think Cameron for me. We've got a question for Matt Murphy here. So he says Zach Taylor to Binns or Cleary and Manor to Jeremy Cameron. So just obviously a rookie downgrade, and then Manor to Cameron, or Taylor down to the same rookie, and Keys to Moore. So Manor to Cameron or Keys to Moore. I'm probably safer going Manor up to Cameron. I think again, I think I'd rather Cameron and Keys.
yeah, I don't know. What do you think about Keys against Sydney?
He might want to do all right, considering that this time last year, essentially, that he kicked the goal that wasn't called. So maybe he wants to go well this time around against Sydney late in the season. But I think Keys is still safe, and I guess I'm not as huge on Dylan Moore with the weather this week, and I think Cameron could go big, and I think Keys can go solid. So yeah, that's probably where I'm leaning there. And I don't think Manor's got the. I think we know he can get 100, but that was with like 15 tackles or something. So he's more like a 60 to an 80 guy, which he's been for most of the games that he's played. So I just don't think there's much upside with Moore and Manor this week, whereas Cameron and Keys, you could get a fair bit of upside. So that's probably where I'd be leaning to. But it is a good question, so I like that one there. We have a very similar question from Yacht Rocky here. So he says, eating fellas, Peatling to Philippou and Laird to Butters, or second option is Peatling to Cameron and Laird to Anderson. I think it's easily the second one.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely the second one. I like the Cameron and Anderson as the in. So, yep, definitely jump on board those, Yacht Rocky. Tony Ford, thoughts on Sarong to Anderson and Young to Amon or Fisher? And who had Amon and Fisher would you pick? Also have Treloar. Would you trade him instead of Sarong or Young? So first answer, I think Sarong to Anderson would all be ticking off. Young to Amon or Fisher, Jaiden. I'm not so sure about that now, just with the weather. I'm a bit nervous with the weather for both Amon and Fisher. And Young could easily score the same as them. Would you be happy to go Young to one of those two, or do you think you wouldn't worry about it with the weather?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing Amon and Fisher in the same game, so I'd probably go Fisher out of those, with McKercher now playing up the ground more. So I think Fisher could be in for, an all-time junk performance. And, he could win you. I've got him in a few draft leagues, so hopefully he can win me those. I don't mind that at all.
Do you think Fisher, the weather, you worried about that, or? Yeah,
a little bit, but
I guess he doesn't rely on marks to get his scores anyway. He gets 30.
Yeah, like someone has to like kind of get the ball out of the back line, and I can imagine Hawthorn will be. I don't know. Yeah, with no Sheasel, I think Hawthorn are going to be fairly good to win. I don't mind Fisher coming out of the back line.
Yep. And would you trade Treloar instead of Sarong or Young?
It would be. I would hold Sarong in like the decisions between Treloar and Sarong really. If you could still afford Noah Anderson, you would, because it's the other way around.
Well, you might, and going Treloar instead of Sarong, you might be able to get a better defender. Might be like a Dacos or someone above 800k.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you could have a play with that and have a look. Because I don't expect Treloar to go massive, because they should put some time into him. I think that's a good option to try and get someone more expensive on the other side.
Yeah. Power Prawn Star was Tim was saying about before when we were talking about the Bentley. He said, "Lol, he has a Lambo." So you got a Lambo instead, Tim? Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Nah, mate. Now, to be perfectly honest, right now, what I have in the garage is a 2015 Toyota Yaris. But let's face it, it's the 4-door, not the 2-door.
I love it, mate.
I'm just driving one of the property management cars at the moment. So
yeah, no, I love it, mate. John Nichols said, as much as I would love to contend, I do not envy Tom's position. I'd much prefer to hunt. So, yeah, no, good luck for Tom this week. Hopefully gets it done there. We've got a couple more questions here. We're just about to finish up there. So we'll go Ali A. Thoughts on Viney's M9 option? I like it. I don't mind it. At 711K, I would definitely tick that off if you're looking at that. Maddie Pham says, trading at Jordan Clark, but only 758K to spend. Who to bring in out of Fisher, Short, and Matt Roberts, Jaden? What is your projection saying with those three?
Short and Fisher are very even. I don't mind Short because the Suns give up a fair bit of outside ball. And yeah, we're not really sure about that game down here in Tassie. So yeah, I think Short could be good. Maybe I'm just hoping because I have him in another draft league. So
he went all right last week, I think. Didn't he get like a 90 odd? So
yeah, he's got the potential to go really well. So I don't mind that as kind of more unique pick.
Yeah, and part of us almost wants Roberts to not go as well, keeps his price a little bit cheaper for next year. So, yeah, maybe go short for that as well. Double Dummy says, with the game change, do you loop Dacos into Cherry or Cherry into Newman, Bont, or Butters? I'm probably Cherry into Newman based on my own top 10. But what your projections say, Jaden? Is that the same as well? Or?
Newman is still fairly high, better than Bont and Butters. So yeah, sounds like a good plan.
So what at Dacos? Where's Dacos in the projections?
No, not high enough.
Not high enough.
Yeah, and that's not because he got tagged last time. Really, it's just like Collingwood. It's mainly because he's been almost under-projected all year because Collingwood is such a one-man team from him. So yeah. He's not really expected to be that all the time based on, everything that's happened. But, yeah, he's got the potential, but I do like Cherry and Newman more than Dacos, especially if Neil Bullen goes to him. There's probably stuff on TV at the moment about interviews, whether that's happening or not. But, yeah, keep an eye on that.
Yeah, exactly. Kean says Anderson or Neil. I think we also, before we said we go Anderson, and then who had a Bont or Treloar? I think, we were saying before we'd go Treloar to Anderson. So, Kean, we like that move there. We'll go to the final question here from Jason I. Says, to loop Viney or Took into Treloar, or to loop Treloar into Steele and risk having 950K still sitting on the bench if Treloar does well? I'm probably the first option. I think Took's probably got the big upside against Richmond in looping him into Treloar. Are you the same there, Jaden? Would you be going Took over Viney? Sorry, and would you do that loop, or would you do the Treloar into Steele? I know Jason is quite high in the ranks as well. I know he's around the top 50 or something. So
yeah, I'm just is Treloar into Steele coming off the bench? Yeah, 950 on the bench. Okay. Yeah, I think you probably just back in Steele because he's expensive. If you're holding him for that expensive, you probably want to put him on field. So yeah, I like having a backup score for Treloar that you could consider if you see in the lead up to the game, like the obvious tag and things like that. So yeah, I don't mind that. And yeah, I have Took fairly high, but Viney. Yeah, Viney's pretty much a one-man midfield at the moment, so he can go right, I reckon, tonight.
Yep, cool. Yeah, I like it. Beautiful. All righty. Well, I reckon that is where we'll wrap up the questions. I'm glad Tim joined us back again because I was a bit worried that we were going to wrap up and he's going to be gone on taking a call or a bit busy. But no, we will wrap up there. But I just want to say, obviously, to everyone, thank you very much for tuning into all the pre-lockout chats. Very much appreciate all the super chats that have come through and all the people that have sent through questions live on the pre-lockout chat. It's always good getting people's questions in before a round starts. So thank you very much to everyone that's done that. And then again, thank you to Jared V, Matteo Hayden, Power Prawn Star, and Jared V again for the super chats today. But yeah, beautiful. So thanks, Jane, for jumping on with us today. Where can the people find you across the socials and the website?
Yeah, mainly on Twitter, and my website is statsbyjaden.com.au. I've put a bunch of AFLW stuff up there, so Fixtures, I've got break evens up there now, so they'll get updated throughout the year. So you kind of get an idea of the pricing as well if you've never played before. And pretty keen for the AFLW, and hopefully I go all right again.
Yeah, looking forward to having you on board this season, mate, and chatting all things AFLW throughout the season. So looking forward to that, mate. Thanks very much for joining us today. Tim, mate, where can the people find you across the socials? Anything else you want to play?
All right, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, it's all right, but it does sound like we're talking to you on the phone, but that's fine.
Mate,
We'll wrap it up.
My headphones have stopped working. So, Tim Guest AU, thanks a lot for everyone listening all year. We'll see you on Sunday, but best of luck for the last round of the year.
Yeah, beautiful. Looking forward to it. And you can find me at BarsDT across the socials as well. And you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter. And if you guys like to send through any more questions regarding either AFL Fantasy or AFLW Fantasy, if you want to send through your whole team and then get your thoughts on my thoughts on that, then you can send those to askmeonq, spelt qu.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You can answer all your AFL Fantasy and AFLW Fantasy questions there. And if you... I know Mitch said as well on the ball, boys, if you have any other questions, just random questions you want to ask, then feel free to ask them there as well. You can definitely ask anything you want there. So, appreciate everyone that's used that this season. And, we'll be back on Sunday night, a little bit later, just because the game is an hour and a half later than normal. So I think that means we'll be live at about 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Perth time is about the time we'll go live. It could be half an hour later, but we'll tweet that out on the Sunday when we'll be live. But we're joined by Tom, regardless if he's wins or not, which hopefully we hope he does, and Luke will join us as well. So looking forward to that. But thanks, guys, for tuning into the pre-lockout chats, and we'll catch you guys on the pre-lockout chats in 2025, and then the AFLW ones come as well. So thanks, guys. Good luck for the final round of the season. See ya.